Catches up with us, I'd like to begin. We have a full plate in front of us tonight and next week, maybe. I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, February 7th meeting of the Community Preservation Committee. And we're calling to order at 6:31 p.m. And I'd just like to go around and welcome everybody in the committee and our guests that I see here online too. And if the committee could just take a minute, let me know anything new, anything going on in your world. Always take a minute to just adjust ourselves to our new reality here.
Like really in my world, my dog escaped from my electric fence the other day. Is that important?
It is important because
It was
stressed you
important
out.
to me.
It stressed you out. So we got to know where people are coming from today, right? That's why I asked.
They find your dog? They find him?
The good news is it's a great place to live. You know, Arbor Street's a busy street. There I was on the yellow line at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. All the cars stopped. People got out of their cars, gave me dog treats for the dog who we could not see, whatever. Suddenly the dog was back in the yard. I'm not sure why, but the stupid part about it was the electric fence. People had sent me a message that said they needed a new battery, and I forgot. So how does a dog know the battery no longer works?
Yeah, because
So she went on a little adventure down Arbor Street.
Well, I'm glad he's safe and sound, so that's important.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm
Great.
crazy with vote by mail ballot applications.
Mail ballot at work?
Vote by mail, vote by mail.
Okay,
A little
Good.
crazy.
going crazy.
I'll bet.
Great. So I'd like to get into our agenda then for this evening. Public comment. If there's anybody on the line that'd like to make a public comment, of course, you're welcome to join in at the appropriate time if your topic is on the list. But if you'd like to just mention anything, please do.
There doesn't appear to be any public comment.
Thank you, Joe. Our next order of business is to review and approve the minutes from October 3rd, 28th, the 11th of January, and the 17th, 24th. I want to turn this over to our clerk secretary here, Trudy, to see if she's had time to evaluate them. And if not, I think I'd like to just table this one more night.
Okay, so I personally prepared October 24th and November. I did those myself. I don't know if they got around to the board to review. The January 11th, 17th, and 24th supposedly was done by the transcriber, whatever we're calling them. And I thought the arrangement was that I would review those first before we brought them to the board for approval. And I have not reviewed those 3 sets.
Okay, so we're going to skip those tonight, Trudy.
The 17th today or yesterday. And I don't know that I've seen the 24th, unless they're in my email now and I just haven't seen them.
Nope, so we're going to give you the time to do that, Trudy. So we will table the 11th and 17th of January and the 24th, if they're available, until the clerk of the committee gets a chance to review those meetings. But the other ones we should have had in our packet this week,
Yes.
at least, if not last week as well.
Yes.
Do we have any comments to
No,
them?
They look good.
Great. It sounds like somebody reviewed them. Great. I let the record know that Bonnie Anderson just joined the call.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
And so I think if I could take a motion for approval of the 24th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Wait a minute, specify October because there's 2 sets
October.
of minutes.
Sure,
Label
October
the
24th. 24th. We have a second anywhere? Second by Trudy.
Second.
We got to do a roll call vote, so I'll call them as I see them. Catherine Harrison.
I will abstain. I wasn't in attendance at this meeting.
Thank you. One abstention. Alden Drake.
Yes.
Leo Mastronzi.
Yes.
Janet Burt.
Yes.
Trudy Reed.
Yes.
Bonnie Anderson.
I also wasn't present, but I read through the packet, so I should probably abstain like Catherine.
Absolutely. Great. Perfect. And Rick Woodland, yes. Moving on to November 28th, do we have any comments or questions about the minutes of the 28th? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the
So
28th of
moved.
November. So moved, Alden Drake.
Yes.
Seconded, please.
Second,
And who was that? Janet Burt?
Janet.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be better for the reviewers, make it a little easier for them when we're doing roll call votes.
Good idea. Janet
Oh,
Burt
yeah, I just-
seconds it.
Trying to make there. So Janet Burt seconded that motion. Catherine Harrison, your vote.
Yes.
Alden Drake,
Yes.
Leo Mastronzi,
Leo, yes.
Janet Burt,
Janet Burt, yes.
Trudy Reed,
Trudy, yes.
Bonnie Anderson,
I'll abstain because I was not present for that meeting either.
Rick Woodland, yes. Great. Topic 4, final review and vote on the administrative staff person. I'd like to turn this over to the team of Janet and Catherine, if they could run this agenda item.
Janet,
Questions?
Do we make any changes? I thought we
No.
answered all the questions last time.
Yeah, I think we just were giving people one more chance to
Yep.
make any comments and send them to Joe. Joe, did you receive any
No,
further comments?
nope. I don't believe I
Okay.
did.
So, yeah,
I guess I will
So we're-
entertain a motion to approve the job description as defined in our packet. I don't know what else we need to put around that, but somebody can make a motion we can discuss then.
So moved.
So I guess,
Seconded.
Alden.
Janet Burt seconded.
let's
Can
just
I
see if
make
I
a-
can get this motion straight, right?
okay. Can I make a friendly amendment?
Please.
I think we ought to specify what job we're voting on.
Yes, we need
So
a
the
full
job
motion, please.
description. So a motion to approve the job description and associated information as presented for the, what are we calling this person? Community Preservation Committee Administrative Assistant. I think that's all that we just want to make sure that we're,
So
I
I think
wish
we
we
need to, excuse me, Joe.
Just a quick question. Are we approving the salary as well or just the job description? Just want to double check.
I think we talked about approving the whole thing.
The 5%.
Well, we talked about an
The-
hourly
but-
rate and we talked about hours not to exceed the 5%.
And it's, Mr. Chair,
Yes. Alden.
and I thought it was well broken out. Numbers of hours for 40 hours, 40 weeks of the year, numbers of hours estimated for the other 12 weeks. I think they covered that pretty well.
Do we need to have that in the motion or should we have that reference the document which contains that information?
Referencing, right?
I think we can reference a document and I think we actually have a date on this document. So it's to approve the job description dated 1/23/24. Jill, though, to your comment, I think just a thought that we can approve this as working for us, but I think before we actually would post a job, wouldn't we kind of run this through town hall and make sure that it was executable in terms of, will it work with the payroll process, not approving any of the
Mhm.
specifics, but
Fair point.
And we talked about it at that meeting because we had gotten advice from Stuart that said we can create whatever we want, but it's the town hall decision as far as payroll, et cetera, and hours where they work.
Mhm.
So then I guess maybe we should can we restate the motion?
I think Catherine stated it correctly, that we're approving what we discussed at the last meeting. And as Alden said, it is detailed. It's, I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. Alden has a better memory than I do. X number of hours and some weeks were 5 hours. I mean, that's all detailed in what we
Yeah.
talked about at the last meeting and what we discussed.
Yeah,
where
'cause
are
if
you
we-
thinking? I'm sorry.
Because
Yes,
if we don't,
Alden.
if we don't decide to move it along, then town hall doesn't get the opportunity to work with it or send it back and say, you need to change something.
Right, so I just want to make sure we phrase it properly. So we're going to approve and send on to the town of Wenham our request for an administrative staff person for the CPC as detailed in the CPC administrative assistant document dated
January 24th, 23rd, 24.
23rd period, and request their feedback and comments and approval. Right? That's what we're asking. Am I?
Well, the approval part, I'm not,
Feedback and comments?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
We can end there. It was
I mean,
just
it-
drafting in my head out loud.
yeah. I just want everybody to be clear on what we're actually asking. Maybe it's pending approval, pending administrative review of the document so that we have approved it. Or we can amend it if there's an issue.
Trudy,
Can
go
I ask a
ahead.
Question. Because I believe Joe was part of this whole process, why does it have to go back to town hall for their approval or review? I thought we followed the guidelines of hours and things like that, responsibilities.
Yes, but I think ultimately every hire in town hall has to go to the select board, correct?
Is that correct, Joe?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, so whatever,
No.
so we're drafting live here.
Not everyone.
No, I was thinking more in terms of the HR department, such as it is, would need to look at it and make sure that the way it's been drafted and approved by us is a way it's possible, that they can pay in those increments according to those times, if it works with their software and their system. And if there's anything that's, inconsistent with a policy, a personnel policy. I think that's what I was thinking about the town hall would do. It's a little unconventional. I don't think we have anyone else that I'm aware of
That's
that
paying
works
for
a
a
certain
seat.
number of
in town hall.
hours, right? And also has two different, up to hours and stuff like that.
Okay, let's revisit this. Does somebody want to try to take a stab at another language, another motion?
I can try.
Can we just approve what we agreed to at the last meeting and go
We
from
can, but
there?
then we have to tell
wait.
the town what we
But
need.
hang
them
on,
to
but
do.
Joe's here with us. He's been involved in the committee. Everyone knows that. So if we as a committee approve what the mini committee determined, then Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, can't you just say to Steve, okay, so this is what was approved. Steve's going to want to take a look at it. He's the town
Yeah.
administrator.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
think
my
we have to,
understanding. Right.
yeah, I don't think we have to say, and this is subject to approval by
Okay, so
anyone,
let's,
though we know it is. I mean,
then we'll back it
we're
up.
just
Let's keep it
approving,
simple.
we're just approving what we decided we would like to have. And then it would be up to Steve and whoever else needs to be up to, the personnel, HR, whatever, to come back to us if they have questions. I don't think we need to
Let's keep
keep it
simple then.
simple, I
What
would
would
think.
Let's keep this simple then. What would the motion be?
So then it's just to approve the job description for the CPC administrative assistant part-time as outlined in the draft of 123-24.
Second?
Or
Second,
Any comments, questions? Okay, let's take a vote. I'll go the other way this time. Bonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Trudy Reed,
Yes,
Janet Burt,
Jennifer, yes.
Leo Mastronzi,
Leo abstains.
Alden Drake,
yes.
Catherine Harrison,
yes.
Rick Woodland, yes. Thank you. I want to thank that subcommittee of Joe, Catherine, and Janet. I really want to thank you. I think this is was a great exercise. I think everybody got heard. We have been working with the town, trying to cooperate as much as we can to try to make sure we're all on the same team. So I really appreciate all the hard work the committee subcommittee did on this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome.
It was pretty fun.
Rick,
Okay.
where do we send the bills for the dinners?
Um, uh, Diane Bucco, Chair, Select Board, Wenham
Got
MA,
it.
Main Street.
Got it.
Okay, overview, deliberation, process, and potential grants. So I just wanted to discuss with you folks last week, and we ran out of time. How do you want to approach this? Do you want to start with the easy ones? I had talked about maybe getting a score sheet. I didn't have time to do it. Let's put it on the agenda for next year. Excuse me. Do we want to tackle the more difficult ones first? You should have received late today a small little spreadsheet that shows you how much money we have to spend, which I hope we can keep out next to us as we discuss. What are your thoughts? Please feel free to open conversation. I'm not going to, unless it gets really hairy and
Just
I see
get-
someone's missing. So
but
just
just
please
get
speak
started.
up, Alden.
It doesn't
please speak
matter.
up.
Just get started.
Yeah, yeah.
And to add to what Leo's just said, maybe just start with the smallest dollar amount applications first. I think those will be the easiest to process and decide, and we can move through them from smallest to biggest.
Good, good with me. Anybody else?
Do we plan to do them all tonight? Because I'm going to go back to what Janet stated earlier. I did not get a chance to read the write-ups from KP Law on the warrant articles on the applicants.
Joe,
I didn't even get a chance to look at the numbers that we got from finance, I believe. I don't know when all this came through, but honestly, I checked this email maybe 2 or 3, like every 2 days. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. So I don't know how much we're going to get into tonight, but I haven't had a chance to review the packet.
hold on,
I
Alden. I'll
support-
get your question in a minute,
Yeah.
Alden. Joe, could you put up on the screen the budget information? Is there a way? I know I saw those eyes roll. I apologize.
No,
for-
no, not at all. I
Um,
just gotta dig through my email.
Well, let's get the budget information. Now, my personal review of the comments from KP Law, they didn't say no to anything. The only one
I
that
mean, I'm comfortable discussing and voting. I just wanted to put it out there that I had not had a chance to review those 2 documents.
and that'll be so noted. We're all kind of at the last minute peril of life. So I agree with you. The only one that I wanted to bring people's attention to is they did discuss pretty clearly their thoughts around the bonding issue. So maybe that's
Yes, they
something
did.
we want to
Of course,
hold.
this is an open discussion. Of course they did, because that's what this is all about. I'm confused about one thing. Why did we ask them to give their opinion on all of our proposed amounts?
Because they do that every year. They just do it at a
Oh, they
different
do.
point
Okay,
in the
so
process.
I've never seen that before.
And I've asked, well, that's why I'm trying to be open. You're getting everything I get.
Uh-huh.
It used to be done towards the end, right before town meeting.
Oh,
And I
right,
really want,
right, right.
Catherine, you're going to have
Okay.
a comment on that?
Yeah, but I can wait.
Okay, so I understand it used to be done much closer to town
Right.
meeting. Next year, I want it done right before we even review the applications. So that's what we're trying to get to. I thought that was done already and that we were all in the clear. It wasn't. So I had them do it now, not after we made the choices, because then.
All right, that
if
makes
it's-
sense to me. I
Right.
couldn't understand that. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rick.
Catherine, do you agree?
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. It's nice that we can, I didn't read it all and it wasn't concise particularly. So, but
No.
I think I understood it the same way you did. They didn't say you can't do anything that's been proposed. There wasn't anything they said you couldn't do. And it's kind of comforting to know that whatever we decide will be our decision, but at least we know it's legal. So
That was the whole idea about this.
I think
Exactly.
it's a good thing. Yeah.
And
Good.
I want to get back to Alden. Do you have a more comment, Alden?
No, I agree with what Trudy said about the last minute receipt of some of this stuff. I didn't read the last email either, but I spent all afternoon on the earlier ones. So when we get to those larger, more complicated applications, let's have this conversation about whether we continue and vote tonight or do something else. But please, I would love to see you start, if you would, with the smallest dollar amounts.
Let's go. Let's do
go.
that. Awesome.
Rick, do you want me to share that chart now on the screen or?
Let's keep talking. We may not need it yet.
Okay.
If,
Okay.
right, because just to note, Joe and I looked over the numbers. We have the money to fund everything. So
Yes.
that stress is not on us this year, but it's what we want to represent to the town is the question. So let's go to number 17,000 is the lowest number I see from William Wilson for the restoration and repair of the Main Street Cemetery.
Question?
Go ahead. Is there one lower than that?
Well, did the Council on Aging withdraw?
Yes, they
They
withdraw
did.
both opportunities.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep.
Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
So I think technically how we have to do it, we have to make a motion to, I guess, approve and bring up at town meeting the funding of the restoration and repair of Main Street Cemetery granite wall at $17,000. Can someone move that? Then we can have discussion.
That's
I
the
would like to
motion.
move- I would like to move,
That's-
that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leo. Mrs.
I'll
Stronzi.
second it.
And seconded by Janet Burt. Discussion.
My opinion is we have to do it. It has to happen. It's the entrance. It's a short money. It's a cemetery for Wenham. I think it's a no-brainer.
Okay.
What, I do have a question.
Sure, sure. Go ahead.
Did Mr. Wilson get back to you, Rick, or anybody to say that he felt comfortable the 17 was enough? Because at the last meeting, there was conversation about if it needs to go to, 20, he should let us know.
There is a note somewhere in our possession that says the custom mixing of colors will be included in the price.
Right.
Okay.
I think that was the
We
question.
got an email about that from
Okay.
somebody that said there'd be no additional expense for the custom mixing.
I see Joe raising his hand. Do you have a question, Joe?
I'm just gonna add the comment if I can, just, Bill said no price increase for color matching of mortar.
Yeah.
Leo?
We talked about it a week ago. It seemed like everybody was in favor of it. They were worried a little bit about the color, but the applicant assured us that it would be fine. So I'd like to,
You want to call for a vote?
I'd like to vote as soon as possible. If anybody else doesn't have something to say.
Go ahead, Catherine. Somebody has something to say. You're muted.
This is a little bit more of a general comment. This is a category of CPC application that I think is really appropriate, because this is a project that could easily, maybe not easily, is eligible to be funded through the town's budget, that we vote on every year. But the CPC has the ability to give a little relief to the taxpayers by funding this project ourselves, through CPC funds rather than in the budget. And I like that kind of project. So that's my only comment.
Mr.
Mr.
Mastronzi?
Chairman, Mr. Chairman, if it should be part of the budget, it should have been done one heck of a long time ago. So I'm sure that the town employees and the administration have noticed that, because it's been an eyesore for a long time. So I think CPC ought to do it, and let's vote on it.
Okay, let's vote on it, everybody. On the motion ahead of us to fund at $17,000, the restoration repair of the Main Street Cemetery granite wall. Catherine Harrison,
Yes.
Alden Drake,
Yes.
Leo Mastronzi,
Leo, yes.
Janet Burt,
Jennifer, yes.
Trudy Reed,
Yes,
Bonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Rick Woodland, yes. Great. We got one under our belts. The next is the proposal for the rehabilitation of the Karen Wolf Memorial Garden at the Bucher School. There's been a slight increase in the amount requested. They went back and it's about 10% more, 9% more. It's now at $54,000. Does somebody want to make a motion to accept this so we can discuss? Catherine Harrison.
Can I just ask a question? So I know Robert's rules would say, make the motion with the dollar number that's in here, and that gives us the ability to discuss it. But it doesn't mean that we have to vote that dollar amount, right? So
Correct.
in our discussion, we could end up with a different dollar amount, not just this one, but any one. And then someone would just amend the motion. Is that how that would work?
I think that's how we should do that, to
Okay.
amend the motion to change the amount.
Okay, I'm
Um,
sorry. I just wanted to
No,
understand.
no, and we can go up too. So if you're feeling people, we have done that in the past. So discussion on the rehabilitation of the Karen Wolf Garden at $54,000. Alden?
Yes, we received a letter of support from the chairperson of the school committee, last name Alaro. I didn't have a chance to read it because that was one of the ones that came late. Was there any indication in that letter that the school committee intends to support this in their budget as well? Or is this simply, a pat on the back saying this will be a great project?
It was a pat on the back. I have it in front of me. If you'd like me to read it really quickly, it's 4
No,
paragraphs.
you don't need to. I
Okay,
assumed it would be
No,
a
they
pat
said
on the
that
back.
the school committee is in agreement, that it should be, that they're all comfortable with it.
Okay.
Hearing no
Was
other,
the upkeep ever discussed? Who's going to pay for the ongoing maintenance of it?
yes, they're trying to roll that into the DPW budget, but they haven't quite finished that.
Right.
Kate Mallory's on the call. Maybe she could address that if she's not busy.
So
The maintenance?
that leads me to my comment. I'm sorry, Kate, you want to speak first? You can, go ahead.
Oh, no
I
problem,
can-
Janet. You can go ahead.
Okay. This is almost across the street from my house, sort of. And it was a beautiful garden when it was created. We talked about this a little bit before when Kate was on, not that she is part of this, sorry. We talked about this before, but I'm not crazy I like the idea, but I'm worried about it. Let me put it that way. I walk by that at least once, sometimes twice a day. The only people that see that are people that walk their dogs that way or in their cars to pick up. And don't get me wrong, I love the idea of little gardens here and there. I love the one that's down at the park between Hamilton and Wenham. It's beautiful, but the people that do all the flowers and everything, they have a commitment to taking care of that. When they created this originally, it was beautiful for about 2 years, and it's been an eyesore for about, I'm going to say 10 years or more. I don't see people from the building across the street from Council on Aging walking over there. It's a really small piece of property. If it was on the Council on Aging property, I could see them using it maybe to sit out, have a sandwich or whatever, or chat with each other. And I feel really weird saying that I don't think it's a great idea, but I really don't. I just think that it's a great idea because it's nice to have a nice little park, but I just am fearful. It's my fear that it's going to get created, and I love the idea of what's going to happen to it. I love the plan, but they might roll it into having someone taking care of it. If there's no commitment, we're going to have the same mess that we've in maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Thank you, Janet. Kate, please.
Hi. Janet, this was a huge concern of ours as well because we didn't want to see the same thing happen to this garden again. So basically, when we put out the request for proposal to have this project done, what we are going to put in that request is 3 years of a maintenance commitment. So we would then have 3 years to figure out exactly what we would do after that. We figured about this would cost about $300 a year in maintenance. We did call around to a few landscaping places. Win Mullery, our tree warden, planned this so it would be very low maintenance. There's actually going to be a lot of stone dust on it, a lot of concrete actually, which sounds counterintuitive too, but it's planned so it will be bushes, pollinator plants. There will not be a lot of annuals that we'll have to do. The only thing will be the actual, like if we want to do vegetable gardens. So we know that the Hamilton Wenham Garden Club doesn't want to take on any more. So what we had talked about is in the conservation coordinator's job description and in the land use office, this contract with whatever landscaper we use would be under that person's purview. So right now it would be under my purview. And so the few times a year that it does need maintenance, it would be my job to make sure that the landscapers are keeping up with it. So we have 3 years to get more funding. It's minimal funding, about $300 a year of maintenance costs. And we have talked to Essex Aggie Tech to see if we could set up a program with them within the next few years to come in, do some educational stuff with that. I was planning to and haven't yet talked to the environmental club at the high school because they have volunteer hours that they have to do at the high school. So we might be able to work some programs like that. And I would be talking, you know, obviously to the select board within the next year or two to just make sure that we have those funds in there. So we have thought a lot about it. We'll be clear at least for 3 years with the request for proposal, and that would give us some time to figure out exactly what to do. But the job would be on my job description or whoever's in that position.
So if anybody else has stone dust besides me, there's a lot of maintenance to stone dust, Kate. I have it on several of my gardens. If you look at that beautiful monument at the top of Arbor in 1A, that stone dust, last summer was embarrassing at the Veterans Memorial. It was overgrown with grass until I spoke to someone about it and said, you know, I'm happy to go up there with my sprayer and my white vinegar, which kills the grass and doesn't kill, you know, it's beautiful stuff. And several people didn't take me up on it, said, oh yeah, you're right. And it got fixed, but it was a mess the entire summer. So stone dust isn't perfect. And again, I love the idea of these small parks, but I'm really worried. Like Essex Aggie, I know because I teach there. I teach college courses for them. They are over the top with requests from communities, all their communities, for help with these things. The high school, we just did an essay contest for human rights 75th anniversary and had a huge presentation at the library and had no students come who were going to get credit for being there for community service. Two students came, a sister and brother who were twins. That was it out of our entire high school. So I love the ideas, but I'm still worried that for $54,000 approximately, that in 3 years, we don't know, the Kate, you'll still be in your job. I know you sincerely believe in it, but there just seems to be a lot out there that's, I guess I'm just still, and I have no problem if we vote for this, don't get me wrong. But I just think it was a great idea when it was created 10 or 15 years ago, and then just fell apart. And 3 years of maintenance, who's going to call those people all the time and say, you know what, the grass is growing through the stone dust? I wasn't thinking about annuals at all. And I like the idea of some other stuff you said, but even native perennials, they need weeding, they need whatever. I can't imagine $300 from April until October would cover maintenance for that property.
Thank you, Janet, for your input. Leo?
Well, it probably, if we didn't spend the money on it, it would probably cost a good percentage of that money to hot top it over. But if we do it, I think we ought to put a plaque there telling people where they can donate if they like it. This way we'll have a barometer, the type of barometer I've been talking about since I've been on this commission.
Kate,
It's a good idea, Leo.
Have some kind of way of, you know, after we get through grant season, we are going to bring up the issue of how do we want to mark or demark or market properties that have been helped by CPC funds. So Leo, you're right on to that. And then a way to donate, you know, any kind of funds to help that. I think that would be a good mitigator. You're right, Leo, that paving it over or just grassing it would be.
Well, it's not going to cost $54,000. It's not that big. It isn't that big. And there's also another garden sort of in the middle of those buildings that one of or two of the teachers in that building do work with students for. I think it's mostly herbs and things, and they take care of that. But no one from the school, and this is not a criticism, but no one from the school has stepped up about this garden. The school department clearly hasn't said, okay, we'll help with this. And I know what I pay to have someone take care of the gardens on my property. It's way more than $300. And mine is not, my gardens are not as large as that is.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have other comments on this point? Catherine?
I'm just wondering or trying to imagine what the alternative would be if not a garden. I mean, clearly it can't stay the way it is. So it's like rip everything out and I don't know, pave grass.
Grass.
I don't know if Kate, if your group has thought about any alternative, or, you know, really your
I'm sorry, Catherine. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I'm sure that your group was trying to beautify it and bring it back to what it was, without probably spending too much time thinking about, well, what if that doesn't happen? So that may not be a fair question. I just was thinking about what the options were.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
I think we wanted to keep it a garden because it's called the Karen Wolf Memorial Garden. So I believe Karen Wolf was a big part of the Bucher School before, and we didn't want to tear that memory away for people.
Thank you.
So the Council on Aging withdrew their proposal for their second bocce court, if that's what that's called.
Mhm.
I think because they realized it takes up a lot of, bocce court is pretty big if you take a look at the one they have. I wonder if that is a place where they would put a second bocce court. They have a huge bocce program, Council on Aging. It's huge, and they don't have decided that they didn't have enough room, particularly considering where their septic system is, in order to put a second court in, which they would really use if they had it. Maybe that's a location where they could go there.
That could be an alternate location. Thank you. Bonnie, I saw your hand up. Did it go down? Is it okay?
Oh, thank you.
Please. Mhm.
Sorry, Janet, are you saying that the bocce ball court could be moved to the Karen Wolf Memorial Garden?
It was just a suggestion. I don't know if it could happen. It's what Council on Aging is right across School Street, which is a zero traffic street other than the 6 houses that are there, unless school pickup is when it's busy. That was just a thought, nothing. Council on Aging, well, I don't know. I guess the town owns all the land, Council on Aging, and across the little street there. It was just a thought because I know Council on Aging really wanted to put in a second bocce court. They could really use it. They have a huge program, and I think it's a nice idea to support the senior citizens in town, which is mostly who you play bocce. That was just a thought that I had,
Thank you.
only
Thanks.
because I'm worried about the maintenance, and I love the idea of a garden there. I would love it when I walk by it every day, but
Well,
I'm worried about
I'm hoping that Kate and the open space group at Town Hall will prove us all wrong, and that garden will look better and better every 5 years. So,
Well, they might, Rick, except that if they don't, we're in the same mess that we're in with the Karen Wolf Garden right now.
yep, we are. And so understood. I just want to bring this up, Bonnie.
Sorry, so that wasn't my question. That just is a clarifying point.
Oh, okay.
Plus you said Janet, so thank you. My question is more, I guess, to Janet's point, yes, that could happen, but if we just do nothing and don't put this through, nothing will happen, and instead of this potential future in 3 years, it will just remain to be as it is. So I think it's a great use of CPC funding, partnering with our school. It is across from the COA. I think it's a great idea. I think all the concerns I heard, I agree with. It's not enough for me to hold everything back for another year. So that's my sentiment.
All right, so what is
Thank
the
you.
partnering with the school? I missed that part.
Just the garden, just supporting this garden that's right across from the COA at Bucher School. That's all. I
Oh,
need.
okay. I thought you meant they were going to give us some support. Okay, I understand.
Trudy, please.
Kate, do we know, has anybody talked to the school about whether or not that the garden will be used for curriculum and getting the kids involved in some of their projects or programs that they do there at the school?
Kate shaking your head, yes. Go ahead.
Yes, Deirdre Parati has talked to the school, and they have discussed using it for story time. The stone walls are going to have a solid surface on the top so that kids could be able to sit. 25 kids should be able to sit along the walls, and then we'll have the benches facing so the teachers can read stories. Our hope, also working with the senior center, is that seniors could come and read the kids' stories, but there is a question about Corey checking with that, so we're not 100% sure if we can mix the two, but definitely the school would like to use it as well.
Great.
Thank you.
I'd like to call this
I'd
to a
like to
vote if
move
we
to a
can.
vote.
So we are here working on the motion to approve $45,000 for the rehabilitation of the Karen Wolf Memorial Garden at 11 School Street. Joe,
I believe it was 54, if I'm not mistaken.
54, I'm sorry, I got the number
So I
wrong.
can try a motion.
Okay, please.
If we're ready. And I think, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what we're voting to do is to recommend to the annual town meeting that this CPC application be approved. We're
I
not
knew we have a
approving it,
writer
right?
somewhere. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
getting it right. Thank you.
It's just a little muscle memory.
So say that
I'm
again, and
channeling Catherine
we'll get this as
Tinsley.
the
So,
official motion.
And the wording will be the same for all of them. So it's a vote to recommend to annual town meeting that the CPC fund the application for the rehabilitation of the Karen Wolf Memorial Garden for $54,000. And I think we're also supposed to say where the $54,000 is coming from,
Oh,
which
we do.
bucket,
Yeah.
but we could add that. I don't know. So that's what I think the wording of the motion is supposed to be, other than the
And so we can take
source of
that.
funds.
We can take that out of budgetary reserve. Is that correct? I think-
Yes, you could. That's
Mhm.
correct.
Okay, so Catherine, do you accept that as an addition to your motion to be withdrawn from budgetary reserve?
And so- yes, except that I thought, and I know this is going to interfere with perhaps later things that we're going to talk about, but I thought in general, the best practice is to take the money from the most restrictive sort of category first, and then take any additional funds if we can't. So is it an open space or is it a recreation project? I guess I'm not
Open
even
space
really
and
clear on
rec.
that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Joe,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I don't mean to interrupt.
go ahead if you had something
I
to say.
believe open space and rec are sort of joined as one category now.
Okay,
That changed
so
not too long ago. So it's open space, historic preservation, and housing are the three categories.
So not wanting to create a bombshell here, I think, but I think that this comes from the category of open space and recreation.
I would
If
agree.
you had to name it.
Okay,
So that's where it would come from, and then any other monies could come from. Once we exhaust all of that, we've got other funds.
I'm
So-
fine with that. Do you want to reread your motion?
Yeah, so let me see, I think I wrote something down. Vote to recommend to town meeting that the CPC fund the application for the rehabilitation of the Karen Wolf Memorial Garden for $54,000 with funds from the Open Space Reserve. Is that what it's called?
I think open space, yes, reserved. Second the motion, anybody?
Bonnie Anderson, second.
Thank you. Let's go around the room. I'll go the other way. Bonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Trudy Reed,
Yes.
Janet Burt,
Yes.
Leo Mastronzi,
Yes,
Alden Drake,
Yes.
Catherine Harrison,
Yes.
Rick Woodland. Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Yep.
I think we need
Just-
to revisit the $17,000, the restoration.
I was just gonna say that. We didn't say where it was gonna come from.
Correct. So how do we do that technically?
that's in the historic district, Mr. Chairman. It's in the historic district. It's historic.
Yes, we just need to do that officially. I agree, Leo. It's in historic, but I'm thinking of the process to get that to happen.
Maybe you just reopen it?
Rescind the prior vote and revote.
Okay, yeah, let's rescind. Let's take a vote to rescind our prior vote on the approval of the restoration and repair of the Main Street Cemetery granite wall for $17,000. Can take a second. Can someone move that, please?
Second. So moved
And then
to
second.
rescind.
Thank you. And then I'm going to go quickly around the room. Catherine Harrison,
Yes.
Alden Drake,
Yes.
Trudy Reed,
Yes.
Janet Burt,
Yes.
Leo Mastronzi,
Yeah,
Bonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Rick Woodland, yes. So let's redo this to, what's the official wording, Catherine?
So to recommend to annual town meeting that the CPC fund the application, that the CPC fund the application,
The town fund.
no.
the-
recommend to
Recommend.
town meeting that the application, I wrote this down and I forgot, for restoration and repair of Main Street Cemetery wall for $17,000 be approved. So we're
That
recommending that
to
is
be
approved
taken out of the
from
historic
historic reserves.
reserve.
Reserve.
Correct. Can somebody second that, please?
Second,
Second,
Alden Drake seconded. All in favor, Leo Mastronzi,
yes,
Janet Burt,
yes,
Bonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Trudy Reed,
Yes.
Alden Drake,
yes.
Catherine Harrison,
Yes.
Rick Woodland, yes. Great. Now we got the language down. We can start making some headway.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Catherine. Yes.
Like I said, muscle memory.
Why it's important to have all levels of people here, people that have experience and people that are brand new, because this is how the town works. I think I'd like to move to what I think should be an easy one next, which it's not exactly in the right order financially, but I'd like to see if we can talk about the town hall restoration project, which is the annual payment that we approve. Could somebody make a motion that we can get that on the floor?
so move, Mr. Chairman, but this one's cut and dry and it shouldn't take a lot of time.
Correct. That's why I want to get it out of the way.
Please
Second.
a
let's do it.
second,
Great. Second, and then
Second.
let's just get the language down to recommend to town meeting that the CPC fund the annual payment to the town hall restoration project in the amount of $109,600
Out of the historic fund.
out of the historic fund. Thank you. Joe?
Just let you know that that account's gonna be technically in the negative, I think, with this. If you took the 17 out of the first, you'll have to dip into the reserve at this point, I think. I think there's
Really?
about 52,000 left over as a delta.
Thank you
from
for doing the math.
That's
That-
definitely, yeah.
So to be taken out of the historic budget and the balance taken out of the
Reserve.
budgetary
Right.
reserve,
Right.
right? And we'll get someone to do the numbers. I don't think we have to have the exact numbers right now, as long
Right.
as we give it our intention, which is to take what's left in the historic reserve fund to pay off the 109,600 and the balance to come out of budgetary reserve.
And I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leo. All in favor, Catherine Harrison,
Yes.
Alden Drake,
Yes.
Leo Mastronzi,
Yes,
Janet Burt,
yes,
Trudy Reed,
Yes.
Bonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Rick Woodland. Yes, thank you.
we should all go that quick.
We'll see.
If only,
Um,
since we have a statutory obligation,
So
easier.
how many have we done? So, hey, we got 3 done. The next in order of increasing value is to the Wenham Museum for 93,500 to preserve and share the archival resources. Catherine?
Rick, I'm sorry. Did we talk about the signage? Is that still?
oh yeah,
on the
signage was
table?
short money also.
I don't see it.
18,000. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th one. Open Space and Recreation Committee, Kate Mallory. Wenham Recreational Trail signage.
That has been removed at the
Oh.
submitter's request.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
Oh.
oh, no, no. Oh, no.
Then why is it not here?
It's on the agenda.
Not
good
mine.
thing Kate stayed on.
It was in the packet on the
I
agenda.
have the
so,
agenda from today's meeting and I do not see it. So I obviously have a bad copy.
let me see what I thought I printed what I had for the agenda.
Joe, could you just pull that up on your screen, please, so I can see it? Because I printed from today's email or yesterday's email, the posting, and I don't have that on my list.
Okay. Let's see here.
Hey, why don't we save it till next year?
No. Because we can't find it on the piece of paper, Leo.
We can punt them all.
Okay, can we go
permission.
back?
No.
Because I think you
Yes.
started talking about the museum. So let's stick with the museum, and in the meantime, we'll look for the sign.
But for two
Yes.
reasons.
Jumping around.
For
Thank
two
you.
reasons, to save time, to save money towards actual acreage in open space.
I missed that,
But
sorry.
I think that I don't agree with that, Leo. I mean, I don't think,
I know.
I think we should
but
discuss it if
Most
it-
of them, most of them haven't because we haven't bought a single square inch of open space, never mind acreage.
And we're
We're a
trying to
lot.
resolve that this
right,
year.
this is,
I know we
this
are,
is the
but go
committee
ahead.
that's going to resolve it.
Back.
But I don't want to skip over an application
let's-
that's.
No,
still
no,
alive.
I didn't take that seriously. We're
Okay.
not, chairman's not going to allow that to happen. No,
Okay.
absolutely not. No, I
So
won't bring that to a vote.
back to the museum.
So let's go to the museum, the 93,500 for the archival resources. Discussion?
How much was it? I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I need to open it. How much
Sure, I
was
can
it?
do it
Leo?
for you. Preserving and sharing the archival resources to honor Wenham's story. It's a request
Right.
for 93,500 from the Wenham Museum to essentially get a bunch of things online. A phase
Right.
2 project, remember?
Right.
Discussion.
Sorry, Leo. I've
Go
heard,
ahead, go
this
ahead,
is-
Bonnie.
thanks. So Bonnie Anderson, I have just heard anecdotally how important it is that not just our town, but, you know, across the state of Massachusetts, there's been a concerted movement to make sure these old records are digitized. And I heard from the applicant and in our meeting that evening, just how strained they are for time to be able to do so. This seems like, in my mind, a clear, good use of CPC funds, good for our community and good towards that end. Being like the liaison chair between the HDC and the CPC, it's also near and dear to my wheelhouse. So that's my sentiment on it.
Thank you. Trudy.
So I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about this one, but Bonnie mentioned digitalization. Digitalization is only as good as the technology, depending on how they digitize their documents. Boston Library, the Commonwealth Digitalization, there's something in Boston that will do free digitalization for certain documents for municipalities. So I don't know if they've checked into that. I think it's always good to preserve history, but I would just be cautious on how they're preserving that and who's doing the work.
Leo, did I see your hand up?
Yes, you did. Quickly, Mr. Chairman. The museum is a favorite of mine. I mean, and I've donated to it over the years. I've been in town 50 years now, and it's a worthwhile cause. It's been around for 100 years. For the first 90 years, they supported themselves, and it took a lot of money over those years for that museum to get where it is and to get where it was 10 years ago. So they must have raised a lot of money. But in the last 10 years, we've okayed 7 applications from them to the tune of more than $250,000. This probably is a worthwhile cause, but I think that we ought to go on hold on the museum a little bit, because I don't believe, I might be wrong, but I don't believe that they raise money like that they use the effort to raise money like they used to, and because they found a CPA that's been very generous to them. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to just add to that. We do not have to, I think somebody brought this up earlier. We do not have to fund these projects at total face value request. So we can decide that we want to give half, have them have a slower start to this, which they understood they could do a slower start. This is everyone's pie in the sky number. And to Leo's point, this may help them engage with their donor base to come up with the rest of the money. So we can
Rick-
provide seed money.
Rick, you're right. In fact, quite a few years ago, I think Trudy will bear me out on this. There was restoration on records at the town hall that cost quite a bit of money, but I think the CPA gave it to them over several years, didn't they, Trudy? They
Yes-
didn't get it all.
Yes, sir, because I was the one that wrote that
Right.
application.
And it went like 10% for 10 years.
Yep.
I would entertain a motion if we're feeling uncomfortable with the whole amount this year, a motion that would tie that over so many year period.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, 10% for 10 years.
Comfortable
we
with
need-
that?
Second,
I'm sorry.
second. I'll second
Second?
it.
Okay, so that would be, can we just round it up and say $10,000 a year for 10 years?
Wait, can I not make, can I make a comment? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
did I not see your hand raised? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay, but that means we're committing to $100,000. How about we give them $10,000 to start and they come back to us next year? And then they tell us who's doing it and did they do more fundraising? Because Leo's right, they haven't been doing as much fundraising. And maybe they need to look into, maybe they don't know about, maybe we could let them know about, I think Trudy said Boston digitalization would help them. Trudy, you
Great
can.
idea. Trudy, next.
So I was going to say, I don't know how large their project is, but these types of projects go for several years. I think saying $10,000 for 10 years is dragging the project out. But I think I'm agreeable to reducing the amount, reducing the number of years. I don't know about Wenham, but where I work in Wayland, they say that your project has to be completed in 3 years. I don't know if that's part of their bylaws or if that's just their CPC rules, but Wayland says that your project has to be completed in 3 years. And these projects take a long time. It's just not an overnight project to visualize and preserve some of these older books.
I would entertain a motion
So-
to change the amount too. So if we want to maybe give a third this year and see how their as a fund, as a seed fund to see how it goes.
I think the seed fund to me makes more sense to see how it goes and to get feedback from them about what they've done.
And to see if they can raise any money on their own.
Exactly.
Can I amend the amount to $30,000?
Yes, you can. So we are taking a motion to recommend to town, oh, see the beginning language, Catherine, I'm sorry.
Recommend to town meeting that the application for preserving and sharing archival resources to honor Wenham's story be approved for the sum of $30,000 taken from, I guess that's not historic. Did we say we used up historic? So
Yes, we
it's-
have taken from the budgetary reserve.
Right.
And I'd like to attach that with the hopes that, with the understanding that fundraising efforts would commence. I don't know if we can add that to the motion, but that we kind of encourage their fundraising efforts to help match the funds donated.
Well, why don't we add it? And if we have to change it, we can.
Okay, is that okay with Catherine to add that?
Sure.
To encourage them to seek donor funds for part of the project. And I'd like to say to have them reapply for another payment next year.
Yeah, I don't,
Do we have a second on that?
Second,
Alden, thank you. I'm going to go around the room. Bonnie,
Yes.
Trudy,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Alden,
yes.
Catherine,
yes.
Rick, yes. Thank you, everybody. Good. I think let's stay with the museum, please, because they have a second request. It's a little, not exactly the next number up. Hold on a second. Joe, have you found that stuff? I just want to make sure you're still working on finding the actual agenda with that number 4 that I don't have.
Yes, I have it. Mhm.
Okay, hang there then. Thank you.
Rick, it's the one that's posted online. I just checked. It's the one that's it's on the calendar, so it does include it on the calendar.
As long as that's legal, because the one I have here, whatever, I got the wrong one.
There were two pages of that of applications on that agenda. I almost missed the second page.
Yeah, no, I made the second page. I didn't have that. I don't know. Anyway, preserving a request for 113,000 from the Wenham Museum to preserve the Claflin Garish Richards house. And this is mostly for a roof on the new building. They withdrew the funding request for the chimney, as I understand it. Discussion? Catherine?
Just a question. Again, on the agenda, I have 82,300.
Oh, see,
What
I do
is-
have a really old copy.
What is the correct amount?
Joe,
That
could you
they're
confirm what
requesting.
the latest amount is?
Sure. 82,300.
Thank you. They did 83,200, because they did remove the chimney repairs from that.
300. I've got 82,300.
82,300.
I think originally on the eligibility form, it was a little higher.
Yeah,
And they decreased the ask. Yeah.
okay. Do we have discussion on that? Thank you for correcting the amount. Leo?
Mr. Chairman, quickly, the same comment as the last one. They found out it's easy pickings, so they come to us instead of the town.
I was going to say the same thing. I wondered, do they have a budget for, like we all have for our houses? Like,
Right.
knowing my roof is 15 years old and I need a new one, or I don't know anything about roofs, but I made that up, that 15-year part. You just know things are going to
sure.
happen. My hot water heater is 12 years old. I think I'm going to have to buy one. Do they have that, or are we just? I've voted yes. I don't remember the total amount Leo said, but I remember we've given them a lot of money in the last 3 years,
Last
and
7, a lot of money.
yeah, huge amounts of money.
Other comments? I could entertain a motion on this, and we can, again, change the amounts, or we can defer it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we defer it for this year.
Discussion?
We need a
Well,
second first.
Second? Sorry,
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Alden, seconded. Yeah.
So that motion means not to recommend it to town meeting for funding.
Correct.
Correct.
Defer is. Okay.
So Leo, would you take a change to that motion to not recommend to town meeting the request of $82,300 for preserving the Claflin
Yes.
Garish Richards house? That's a little
Correct.
bit more straightforward, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
Is that okay with you, sir? With the petition? Yeah, okay. So, okay, discussion? Bonnie?
So, in my perspective, I would sooner fund a leaking roof than anything else for the museum, especially for that house, specifically the Claflin house. I don't know how bad it's leaking. I agree, like, yes, that's something that they should have been budgeting for a long time. Alden?
No, go ahead, finish your comment. I'll be next.
I'll recognize Alden next, Bonnie. Please
Oh,
relax.
okay. All right.
Just do your thing. I'll keep track of all those people, not to worry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Keep talking.
My sentiment is, I mean, of anything that's like, you've got to fix a leaking roof before we digitize any files. I mean, the sentiment with the digitization is that people aren't walking by the Wenham Museum and deciding to become, annual members. They're mostly like finding the museum on Instagram, and that's that. A leaking roof is a leaking roof. That's the most important thing in my mind. So I would hesitate greatly to not fund at least a portion to make sure that they're not having a leaking roof.
Thank you, Bonnie. Alden?
It's in the minutes that I asked that question, if the roof is actually leaking, and the minutes say that they answered it is not currently leaking. They said that they elaborated in the meeting and said that they regularly check and there's no sign of leak. And that's in the minutes.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I agree with you. If it's leaking, it has to be fixed. Then
Fixed right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to go back to the motion and put it in the affirmative so we can deny it. So hopefully if Leo agrees with me, I'd like to say to approve and to recommend to town meeting the approval of $82,300 for preserving the Claflin Richards house at the Wenham Museum. Can we back up? So can we make that the new motion?
Mr. Chairman,
If somebody could, Leo?
Mr. Chairman, can somebody second it and then vote no?
Yes,
Well, then I second that motion.
yes. Vote, and then I think we're good with discussion. Can we go around the room?
We've discussed it.
Catherine? Oh, do we have discussion, more discussion?
So can somebody just clear up what we're doing? Are we voting to take it to town meeting for a recommendation, or are we voting not to move forward on it? I'm confused.
A yes
Sorry.
vote on this amendment would move it forward to town meeting. A no vote would not move it forward. It would end here.
A no vote would not move it forward. They
Correct.
didn't mention at town meeting. That's fine then.
Right.
Let's try the vote again. Thank you, Trudy. Catherine?
I'm sorry, I'm not usually equivocating, but it's just a really important historical, it's the, property. And I agree. I feel like we have been sort of on the gravy train of, vote, just, keep paying, but to skip this one and to pay for digitization makes me uncomfortable. So I guess I'm just gonna reflect it with my vote. So I'm going to vote yes.
Okay,
Only because I
thank
think
you.
it should have been partially approved.
Leo, I know we're in a vote situation here, but I
I
want to
want to give my
recognize you.
vote, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry?
I want to give my vote.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to vote no because it's not leaking now.
Okay, understood. Janet Burt,
No,
Trudy?
Wish we could go back and rescind the preservation. No.
We can.
all right, we're doing a vote. We need to do this vote and then decide what we're gonna
Yes,
do.
thank you.
Finish the vote.
Trudy?
No.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Alden?
No.
Rick? Yes. I think we just came to a 3-3, correct?
One,
Should-
two.
Well, there should be 7 of us, so it can't be 3-3.
I think it was
Oh, you're right.
Three
It
yeses and
it did
4
not
noes.
pass. There are 4 noes and 3 yeas.
4 noes.
4 noes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Where do we go next? Next one on our list, and I'm keeping track of time at 7:40. We do have another week scheduled of this, so I think we're making great time right now.
How about the open space?
I want to do one more thing before we do open space. Let's talk about 4 Monument Street, the exterior repairs to the tea house.
Oh, yeah.
Discussion, ideas, topics?
Could you refresh my memory?
Yes,
Is that going to
sir.
come under historic preservation?
It will come now under budgetary reserve since we are out of money in the historic district,
Okay.
historic fund.
Well,
And this is, go ahead.
if I may,
Mhm.
I'm going to reflect what Leo has been saying about organizations and their fundraising and their endowments. I remember at a recent meeting, it was the endowment of the tea house came up, but they never elaborated on how much they might have in their endowment. They're generating income from it. And since so much of the energy and interest is in open space and preservation, maybe we need to slow down there as well. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Leo?
Especially, Mr. Chairman, where it would have to come out of the budgetary.
Right.
Historic is well used up.
Yes, we've had a heavy year on historic.
It's been since the inception. it's been heavy on historic.
Well, town hall, you know, the town hall debt has taken a bite out of it every year.
Right.
Well, also, apropos to what Alden said, the Wenham Museum last year and this year recently, I'm sorry, WVIS, I didn't mean to say Wenham Museum, donated $35,000 to the Wenham Museum for their summer program, which is a lovely thing to do. But maybe instead of doing that, they should have paid to fix the windows.
Plus they collect rent.
Right.
Yes, Bonnie.
I couldn't agree more, especially knowing that the camp is run at a loss.
Right.
My concern is when I looked at what they were using for windows, it's a historic building. It's not at the same level as the Claflin Richards house. It is a 1917 Cape house that's made to look old. And I don't know why they're using top of the line Marvin windows to do the job. I know on the outside it has to have the approval of the HDC, but when I looked inside, they were doing some pretty expensive stuff with molding that I thought didn't need to be done. So I think they could review that and maybe chop 25% off on the window costs alone. So I didn't think it was budget conscious. So I'm not inclined to approve it. Catherine, sorry, I'll get to you, Bonnie.
So I agree with a few of the comments. But I do want to clarify that I think that the interior renovations that are being done by the tenant, the new tenant. And this money is going to exterior renovations. That being said, and they're clearly needed, I think Kristen did say that there is an endowment and that they could tap into it if they had to. I was on that board for quite a while, and I do think there is an endowment. So we should have maybe specifically asked a little bit more about that, but
we can
they can
defer
find the
this.
money to do it.
Before I get to you, Bonnie, we can defer this to our next meeting because we need more information and we can ask for written responses. If you feel that that would be better to give somebody a fair shake, we can do that.
So
Or we
moved.
could,
I move
or we could vote.
if we vote, I'd like the same type of a vote we did on the last one.
But Bonnie didn't get a chance to
Yes, Bonnie, go
make her
ahead. You might
comment.
sway us all here.
Thank you. No, I agree with what has been said. And, you know, I can't go back in time, but I can't also shake the idea that, you know, we heard Kristen say in the last meeting, she's a new member of the board. She's the new president. She's maybe 2 years onto the board. And she too kind of communicated to us disappointment in how, like, into the house, so to speak, that she's inherited. Because the damage that we saw in the packet last week or weeks prior, the photos of that damage to the clapboards, to the windowsills, I'm talking all of the exterior damage. Similarly to what I shared about my thoughts on a leaking roof, and I'm glad that roof is not leaking, there seemed to be significant erosion coming in from the outside, which would just keep me awake at night if that was my house. So it's a point of befuddlement for me looking at the state, how a home that is so near and dear to our community was, you know, has come to the state, especially if there is an endowment that's not being leveraged. So
Right.
I want to definitely move forward with a vote. However, I would love for this not to be killed tonight. And instead, it would be nice to give them an opportunity to say, like, I don't know how he asked. Some of these questions feel almost so pointed. I don't know who would want to communicate or write these concerns about their endowment and, you know, give them the opportunity to make a case that makes this an easier choice for us.
I move we defer it till next week.
Okay, I'll take a motion the motion on the floor is to defer a decision on the Wenham Museum's request.
The Village Improvement Society.
Thank you. Wenham Village Improvement Society's request for repairs to the outside of the house. We're going to defer that to our next meeting, and we'll have a conversation in the meantime with and I can do that if you want me to, or you can assign somebody to do it, to discuss these points of endowment, fundraising efforts. Do you need, what type of windows really will suit the building, et cetera.
And a current donation, a significant donation they just gave to the museum,
To them.
and
Yeah.
the change that they made last summer to their summer program, which has always been profitable and was not operated in the red last summer because they changed what they were doing. And are they going to reinstate the original popular one where they made money?
And that's the comments I'll take to them, but I got to get back to the motion. Catherine.
Well,
someone
just,
second?
I just want to make sure we're giving the correct information. Janet, again, having been on that board, the Tea House Camp has not operated in the black for a great number of years. I mean, I haven't been on there in 5 and at least, and it wasn't operating in the black for at least 5 before that. So it's not a new issue. It's still an issue, but it's not a new issue. And I think I'm not on the board anymore, so I have no
Someone
idea
second,
if this
did
is
someone
true.
second
Please,
defer?
yeah, someone second the motion. I agree, Catherine, with Leo. I think you're right. We can, yes, it hasn't been.
Could you
Yes.
restate the motion, please?
Okay. Let me
Defer.
try.
I move we defer it till next week, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I second.
Okay, Trudy and Alden seconded. Okay, let's go around the room and vote. Catherine,
Yes.
Alden,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Trudy,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Rick, yes. Thank you very much. This is how it should work. Thank you.
Let's do open space next. We've had the
Okay,
coordinator
let's
and
do
the
open
chairman.
space. I'll
the
take
chairman waiting
suggestions
all
from the
night.
floor, but I know you want to get going,
Oh,
everybody.
God. At
Excellent, leave
quarter
it.
of 8, Leo, you want to do this discussion?
Well, it's not, the chairman and the coordinator of the Conservation Commission's been waiting all night.
Do we have 2 open spaces, Rick? What's left? Just the 2 open space?
We do. I'd
Yeah.
like to talk tonight. I'd like to talk tonight about funding the Conservation Fund. Because we
Okay.
need to read the opinion from council on the bond issue. And I'd like to take tonight to talk about, one moment, Joe, I see you, thank you, to talk about the granting of funds to finance the Conservation Fund. Okay, can we talk about that one? Right
Yes.
now, they're asking for 1.5 million. That's their request. We don't have to fund at that level. Please discuss, everyone. Thank you.
Do we have that much money
We
in their
do.
fund?
Yes, we
Okay.
do. Trudy?
Where does that money go? So let's say it's approved at town meeting. Where does that money go? Does it stay in CPC, or is it moved over to a conservation account somewhere?
I can
So that
answer
it's ready
that
if they need to use it?
rudimentarily. I can answer that. And then I think Kate's reconnecting right now via audio. It will go into what is known as the Conservation Fund, which is a Commonwealth chartered fund that each town can set up specifically for purchasing conservation land.
And Wenham currently has that fund set up?
Yes, we do. We have had it. We've just
Okay.
never funded it. A lot of towns like Groton and Stowe, they've been funding this every year as a matter of course. They just give that open space money over to the Conservation Fund and they do with it what they need to do. We've not been in that mode. So I'm giving you a little history. Correct, Leo?
Even though the specific parcels haven't been identified or haven't been designated yet.
Right.
And we can designate those.
Yeah.
We
So
can
we can put
say-
restrictions on it.
We can put restrictions on it to say, so I'm giving a little history because I've been doing some research on this. We can say, and thanks to Kate's memo the other day too,
Yeah,
we
it was
can
great,
say-
Kate. Thank you.
this money can only be used for property A, B, or C. And we don't have to fund it at 1.5 million. We can say, here's 750,000.
Correct.
And only used on these properties. We can do the same thing with the bonding, okay? But that's another conversation. So we have the ability to guide the future of Wenham, like the CPC should be doing, and recommending to the town what we think as an outside group of citizens should be done. We can still have that input, but move these things forward. Kate, am I
Kate's
wrong?
letter in our packet.
I'm sorry, you
Yes.
don't have any audio, Kate.
You said it perfectly, Rick.
Thank you. Leo, I
But
saw
where's
you
this
had a
letter that
question, then
Catherine
Alden
referred
next,
to from
okay?
Kate?
And then Trudy. So Leo, Alden, Trudy.
I'd like to move that we appropriate, that we recommend to the town to follow exactly what the open space coordinators suggested. And that's what I want the motion to be. I don't know that it's worded right, but I'd like to move things along, get that money into the open space category, because we finally got somebody that's proactive on this thing, and I'm behind her 100%, because this has been my thing from the whole 18 years that we've been on, that I've followed this committee. I've been on it for several years, but I've followed it from the beginning.
We're going to call this the Leo Mastronzi bill.
That's right.
I
And
second it.
thank you, Leo. I'm going to
As long as it passes. As long as it passes.
I'm going to go to Joe because I forgot he had his hand up, and I want to make sure it's not administrative. He needs something.
No, it's actually not to do with this, but I just want to make sure the Affordable Housing Trust application wasn't overlooked. If you're referring it to next week, that
It
is
may
on
have to
the
go to
agenda.
defer to next meeting, but that's going to be an easier one, I think, than this. So let's talk about this for a while, because we might have follow-ups from tonight on these topics, okay?
Well, we
Um,
already had a second. Alden
So I
seconded what Leo said.
Okay,
Can we have
great. So
discussion too?
can I
Yeah.
make an amendment to the motion?
How about discussion first?
Discussion could be an amendment, but go ahead, Alden.
I'm interested in knowing if anybody can answer Trudy's question about
Thank you.
if this is passed at town meeting. First of all, if it passes tonight, and then if it passes at town meeting, where does the money actually end up? Who knows?
Kate, you've
Oh,
hit
no, I
my,
think
you've
my
hit my
question was
level on
answered
that.
on
Go
that
ahead,
one.
Kate.
There's a fund
Ans-
set up for conservation, right?
There
Oh,
is.
is that fund in a bank or is it in Bitcoin? What is it?
No, it's in a bank earning interest.
How much?
It's in that,
Kate, can you talk to that, please?
You're
you're
muted.
muted.
You're muted.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Sorry, my husband's out to dinner and my kids are running crazy. I apologize. I don't know the exact interest rate, Alden, but I know that the funds will be transferred from CPC into the conservation fund, which is already set up. They'll actually probably have to set up a new level of the account because there's already funding in that account that the Conservation Commission has that they can also use to purchase open space. So it would be taken from CPC and transferred over in the bank.
Okay, my question though is very pointed, and that is money market rates in US Treasury, short-term US Treasury bills are over 5%. So if you've got the money parked in any bank that's not paying you close to that, I would hope that you would consider holding the money in a better interest environment than something what we're used to.
I'm just going to speak a little bit there. There are regulations, state and federal regulations about where municipal money can be parked. So we are under the obligation of those state and federal rules as to where the money can go. I don't know all those. Maybe Joe knows a little bit, being in town administration, but there's very strict guidelines. So we
Yes,
don't always get the best
I
rate.
realize that. It's unlikely, however, that what I'm referring to would be prohibited. Joe, help us out, please.
Yeah, it's something I'd have to check with the finance director on, what the interest rate would be. So I probably shouldn't comment on it. My understanding was it would just go straight into the Concom fund, the GL account. So I'd have to explore other options if they're available.
What bank is that at? Is it a savings account? Is it a checking account? Is it a money market account? It makes a difference. You can make tens of thousands of dollars of interest while you're waiting to use the money.
And
Yeah,
I think we could,
I'll go with
I
that.
see Phil Guest holding up his, and
Oh.
I think we could also, we could pass or deny this without tonight, I think, knowing. We could put an amendment on it that the money be invested with, under state and federal guidelines to maximize the interest
Yes,
possible.
please.
Is
Yes,
that okay?
thank you.
So we have
Yes,
an
it is.
amendment to that would say that the money be invested under state and federal guidelines to the highest rate of return possible.
Right.
Great. And then I want to go to Phil, who's a guest, and he had a comment or feedback.
Yeah. Thank you, Rick. So I think most of you know me, Phil Colarusso, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. I just want to remind people why we're asking for this, and I'm sure Kate has made this point prior. This allows the town to be more nimble and responsive to opportunities. And many of us who have been here for a while remember the Flynn Golf Course and how that played itself out, and how I think in a straw vote, the town would have preferred the town take possession of that land. But 2 out of the 3 select board members voted the other way against the town's general consensus. Catherine being the one brave soul to, I think, cast the vote in the other direction. So I think this gives us an opportunity to kind of, we've already identified, the town's already identified certain properties that it's interested in. That allows us to be nimble and act on those properties and not find ourselves in a position where we don't have the time to generate the funds to actually make the purchase. So I do agree that it would be nice if we could maximize our return on when we're putting these funds aside. But I think it's really important that, more important that we have these funds in reserve so that it can be used at the proper time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Phil. I want to go to Catherine, then Leo.
Just a little factoid. I don't know if the conservation fund is in the big category of large funds that are in the town's care. But I do know that things like the CPC money and all the other funds that we have do follow those state regulations, and also are, what's the right word? They are managed by a firm that does exactly that. If I could just remember the name of it, I could say, but we do have guidelines, rules in town about following the regulations, but we also have an advisor. The town has an advisor that will say, this should be, in order to get the best return, it should be invested in such and such a way. And that's an ongoing process. Bartholomew. Thank you, Joe. I guess the question for me would be, is this money, this fund also be under the umbrella of all the other funds, including the CPC funds in the town? And if it is, then I'm comfortable that they've been very good. Bartholomew has done a lot with our money, because for years we literally had it in bank accounts. So
right. It's a terrible waste.
Yeah. So that at least has been changed for everything.
Alden, I'm going to hold you for a minute, although I know it's probably on this topic. I want to go to Leo, please, because he had his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick comment. The Conservation Commission Chairman, Phil Colaruso's saying that it makes us nimble. That's very important. And that's a very important reason. My reason I think is just as important. My reason is, if it goes into the conservation budget, it means it won't go into the other 3 candy stores, which already some of them, like we voted tonight, go into the general reserve. They've done their own, they've gone past their own allotments into the reserve. So if we put it into where it belongs, into the conservation fund, this means it's not going to go into the historic, it's not going to go into recreation, it's not going to go into affordable housing or other places. It's going to go into open space, whether we buy it this year, next year, or 15 years from now. It's not going to be squandered on something else. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to go to Alden next, then I'm going to have a comment.
I'll be brief. So $1.5 million in a current interest rate environment should be able to generate between $60,000 and $75,000 of interest income in 1 year. And so my motive is simply to maximize the money that the conservation fund is going to have. So if the funds are not required to stay under town hall, because I suspect if the funds stay under the town hall management, then the interest stays with town hall. I suspect that if the money goes into the conservation fund, I suspect, because that's separate from town hall, I suspect the interest stays with the conservation fund. And that's my point in making that point clear. There's between $60,000 and $75,000 of interest in the next 12 months if this passes. And the question is, whose interest is it? And I think we
Agreed,
all have
100% agreed.
yeah.
So how do we structure that, our wishes here? Let's go back to the motion, and then I have an amendment to the motion. So the motion stands as to fund the request at 1.5 million to fund the out of budgetary reserve and the open space reserved and budgetary reserve to transfer to the conservation fund with the requirement to invest this money at the highest rate of return as allowed by state and federal
Thank you.
rules.
Correct.
And I'm going to amend it one more time. The money to be spent only on the following properties: 9 Maple Street, the Angelini Farm. So maybe Kate can help me with the address of that place.
212 Topsfield Road.
212 Topsfield Road. And the third place is the corner of Cherry and Pleasant.
This.
Isn't that
69 Cherry?
74? No, 69 is on the
No.
other side, right?
Yeah, that's
Isn't there a
the,
property on
Short-
Cherry that's 74 Cherry?
the Shorts property. I don't know the number.
Yeah, the corner of
74
Pleasant and
Cherry.
Cherry.
It was
That's
one of
the
your
one that-
recommended locations, Kate.
That's the one that's for sale right now, Rick?
Yes.
Yes, 74 Cherry Street.
74 Cherry Street. Those are the 3 properties, in my view, that are on the west side of Wenham that are some of the most endangered and have some of the, from reading the report from conservation, have most of the highest needs for pathways, migration pathways for birds and animals. And I want to make sure that we're keeping in the conservation spirit.
I'll second
Discussion
your
on that
amendment.
amendment? I'm sorry?
Do you need a second for your amendment?
I think
To
we need
limit it to
discussion, and I'm
those
going to
3.
wrap it all into one big
Yeah.
Okay.
thing. Discussion?
No further discussion from me. Thank you.
Ms. Harrison?
I just would like to, I'm reading Kate's memo, which thank you very much, Kate. This was very, very helpful. And I think it showed a real appreciation of the fact that we have a concern that this month, I think I have a concern, I can't speak for them. I have a concern that the money be used the way we think the town should use it and that there be some restrictions. And so thank you for that. But one of the things, so we did specify land to be purchased. That was your amendment, Rick. But I think also there were some other restrictions that should be put, like, you know, and I'm using Kate's memo, ensure that they're conservation restricted, that the funds are spent only on the purchasing of those parcels and the associated fees. So I think that's an amendment to the amendment, just to add those restrictions.
Let me see if my brain at 8 o'clock at night is working properly. To
Good
recommend.
point, Rick.
Say
Good
what?
point. Good point. Our brains don't work when it gets too late.
I'm about done.
So I think I'd like to have a motion to approve and to recommend to town meeting that we fund the conservation fund in the town of Wenham at $1.5 million to first come out of the open space budget and then the balance coming out of budgetary reserve, with that money to be invested at the highest possible rate of return given state and federal guidelines. And the properties to be purchased the properties that could be purchased with this money would be 9 Maple, 74 Cherry, and is it 211?
212.
212 Topsfield Road with, Catherine, I forgot your part.
With the restrictions that the insurance that they're conservation restricted, and that the funds are spent only on the purchases of those parcels and the associated fees, which we have to remember there will be some fees. So it's
Great.
really just to
Second?
be sure.
Second,
Alden seconds it. Let's do a vote.
Yeah.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Trudy,
Yes,
Janet,
Yes,
Leo?
Did it say the interest on the money stays with the fund, like Alden suggested?
Oh,
I
by
think it does.
definition, it would.
Just one more. I imagine,
by-
I think it should say it, but
By
I
definition, it would.
vote yes.
thank you. Alden,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Rick Woodland? Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your consideration on this. I know it's a big leap for the town. I really think Leo's hard work over all these years, keeping us on track, is paying off. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kate,
Thank you.
too.
Thank you, Kate.
Kate,
Thank
too,
you
for all your
all.
hard work on this. Thank you.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Let's get it done. Thank you.
Hold on. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Kate.
Trudy.
I think Catherine and maybe one or two others have referenced this letter or email from Kate. Where is that?
It's in the packet.
Okay, I've been scrolling through the packet all
It's-
evening and I just.
It's in the, I
Okay.
think it's at the end of that application. I had to look for it a couple of times.
Okay, thank
Um,
you.
It starts with, why is the Conservation Commission asking for so much at once? They
Right.
were answers
Got it.
to questions that we had asked earlier.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
found it very enlightening. I
Okay,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
We are
Can I
on
make a
our road.
motion
We
to
are getting
adjourn and
our
we
I's and
continue
T's
next week?
dotted for the future. I really appreciate this, guys. We have two more, I think, to address, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. We have to address the request from the Affordable Housing Trust for their
Yes.
set aside of $69,360. And the last one is the bond, general obligation bond. I
Yes.
know it's getting late.
And the
Can I
one,
the
make a
signage,
motion to
Rick.
defer both
Well-
of those till next week?
Okay, hold
I
on,
just
hold on.
want to
I heard a
get the
couple things.
signage. I just want
let's-
to get the
let's-
signage back on the list.
Oh,
right.
the
We need
signage is back on
signage
the
back
list.
on. We need to talk about signage.
That's the third one that would be next week, I guess.
So there's three.
I think I'd like to do this if we can. I think unless other people feel otherwise. Trudy, did I get your question answered? Did you get your point? Do you have a point? Sorry, before I talk, I want to.
No, I think I was trying to make a motion to defer these till next week.
All of them? Because I have it. I would like to just think we could do the affordable housing one and be done with that one.
Mm,
No?
No, I'd
Okay.
like to talk
Then
No,
about
are
let's-
you
it.
kidding?
Terry, let's your motion.
No,
I'll
I
second
second
Trudy's motion.
Okay. Let's have a discussion if we need to.
No discussion on that one.
My brain is tired.
Okay, great. So let's go around the room.
Whatever we
Bonnie?
have left, I'd like to defer to next week.
And
Okay, unheard request, unvoted on requests will all be deferred to next week. That's a general way of saying whatever we didn't get to, we'll do next week.
Correct.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Trudy,
Yes.
Janet,
yes.
Leo,
yes.
Alden,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Rick, yes. And Leo, it's your turn. Let's do it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we adjourn.
Do I have a
Second,
second? Okay.
And,
All in
and spec-
favor, Catherine?
Yes.
and when, and what's the next meeting date?
Oh, I had to adjourn. Yes, our next meeting date is a week from tonight,
Okay,
right?
same
On
time.
the 14th? No,
no, it's not.
Valentine's
It's the
Day.
13th.
No, it's
it's
not.
the
No, it's not.
13th.
It's
So
the
clarify.
13th.
February 13th,
Please.
6:30 via Zoom will be our next meeting. And,
The
and then
13th.
we are taking a motion to adjourn. Catherine,
Okay,
Yes.
Alden,
yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Trudy,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Rick, yes. Leo, you'll be the
Yes.
last voice.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.